Okay, so I'm gonna be reading some messages, mostly mine, because this goes into something that I've been talking about a lot. Even like on the abuse evidence channels, I talked about the issue of like knowing you don't have parents, even though they're there, but like you don't have them, and you have to take care of yourself and them, and be the unpaid therapist and all that stuff, and a people pleaser for all these other random people. But especially once you become a street kid, you constantly have people throwing it up in your face that you don't have parents, pretty much. From the racial situations of people laughing about my situation to the whole street kids aren't seen as kids thing, and how you're only a kid if you visibly actually have parents. And then there's also another side where like people try to act like they think you're so much older than you actually are when you're a street kid, but that's some bullcrap. But I talk about that all the time as well. How like, I get that it's respectful to call somebody a young man or a young lady, but or young man or young woman, whatever in the world. But it's like, I've been referred to as a woman, or even sir, because especially when I was in Cali, like a lot of people kept claiming to think that I was like a 13-year-old boy or an 11-year-old boy and different bullcrap like that. And they would approach me as sir and all that stuff because, for one, it's a part of the cognitive dissonance that they have to do in their own head to make themselves feel better, not feel guilty about treating you like crap. Not that I like the whole idea that like a certain group should be treated better. Like, screw the homeless youth because they should just go home and only care about the homeless elderly people. Or screw the quote-unquote lazy 40-year-old man who's probably been out here since he was 12 anyways and only help the homeless youth. I don't like all that weird bias stuff. And the people who think like that, they don't really care about anybody anyways. The people that will sometimes pretend to be a little bit nicer to me, this doesn't actually happen as often as people would think. But the people who would pretend to be a little bit nicer to me because I'm younger, and there's often like a let me help you lunatic side, which I have a whole playlist about why I made the term let me help you lunatic, or a sexual side to that. And there's a lot of stuff with that. Like, before I really get into the point, because I don't want to go too off on a rant of things that I've been a tape recorder for and saying for years that nobody cares about anyways, but I think about when this lady told me that people, honestly, this is something that I had a couple people accuse me of, the idea that people care more about me because I'm younger, even though they ended up in the situation that they're in. Well, honestly, some of these people were still young. They were still really young, to be honest, but in general, they ended up in the situation when they were even younger because nobody cares, nobody ever cares. It's just that in every situation you're in, people have a new reason to treat you like crap because they never cared anyways. Like, if people would have cared about younger people in the first place, you wouldn't have ever been in the situation you're in the first place. So yeah, there's that. I remember this one situation. I was thinking about this earlier, where like I would busk or vend, and I would sell books I wrote or art that I made when I was in Cali. That doesn't work in too many other places, to be honest. Definitely not like in a place where I'm at now. But still, most people just wanted to call the cops on me to do that fake care. There was a racial side to that, but I'm not going to really go into that because I'd be somewhere else. But some of the homeless people would feel mad about me being nearby busking if they were trying to panhandle, or like this one guy would come talk junk to me and yell at me and tell me, when are you going to be done so I can go stand here? Because people have this idea that like people are going to give me more money, or that people are going to buy stuff for me necessarily because I'm younger, but that's not how that works. That's either a good excuse for them to call the police on me, or it's just a reason for people to tell me to go home, especially in a place like where I'm at now. The whole go home thing, that would definitely happen more where I'm at now. But anywho, to get to the point, that's complete bullcrap because, for one, since I'm quote-unquote black, and the dude that comes to mind because he would do this really often, he's white, quote-unquote white, he's actually gonna have more people pay him mind and pay attention to him, and also a lot of homeless people and people in general have dogs in like these mostly white areas, so he had a dog as well. So people are gonna want to give money, not for him but really for the dog, and people are also gonna want to give him pet food. But he felt like, since I'm younger, I'm gonna take the money or whatever in the world. But even though he's very visibly on hardcore drugs, because in these types of areas, these mostly white areas where they haven't policed their crimes and they've went downhill due to the hippie rock thing, there's like a lot of drug use. And the people, a lot of them are on fatty, meth, heroin, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But anywho, they know he's on drugs, but they're going to give him a whole bunch of money to go buy substances anyways, because he's quote-unquote white. So there's stuff like that. People have this whole they're gonna care more thing. That's really not how it works, because nobody ever cares regardless. Like the whole F them kids thing, but how now people are pretending to care about kids due to the social justice warrior stuff. So yeah, there's all of that. And now to get to the point and start actually reading the messages. So someone was talking about the common situation of having to be their own parent and do what their parents should do. And I just thought about all the realizations. Crap, hold up. Wait a minute. So, well, we were talking about a video, really, and how we relate to the videos. And so that's also what I was talking about, especially in the beginning. And I was like, I totally get it. As much as I wish I could go to high school still, even though I know I would have got bullied and I'm too chronically ill. I know it would have been bad. The little 3 months of school I did get to go to after getting held back due to not being allowed to go the whole year before, which was really common, but I'm not really going to get into that because I don't want to like make it too confusing. But anywho, at that point in time, I spent all my time, the little 3 months of school I did get to go to for the first time in years, sleep or crying. In fact, I may still have a post on here from when I had that emotional breakdown, which I did still have the post, but I'm not going to go into that either. I'm going to type the rest. No, let me not read that. Crap, now I'm actually, hold up, because I accidentally copied and pasted something. Okay, let me ignore that. Sometimes, but yeah, I totally get it. Crap, I still do. In functional societies, the families stay together. In fact, the kids don't move out until they're married, especially the girls. I think one of the scary things is that even though I've always been pretty delayed while still being quote-unquote wise or spiritual or whatever, or as I've always been told that I understand more than most grown people, I didn't expect to live this long, like many people I know actually. And I also really wanted to have things figured out by now. Like, I remember I started that drop shipping business at 14 because, not drop shipping, I don't know, I always call it that. Really was print on demand. I was trying to sell products and stuff to like, really to make money, so that way I'd have money left over before I ended up out here. Because like, it's really a long story, but I thought that like that would get somewhere, but yeah, that went how that went. Even though the truth is that many runaways and kicked out people and foster kids get stuck out here. That's kind of the point of our vagabond, even though most would have been But yeah, I get you. It sucks and I'm still having to do it. That's why I say do it as in parent, myself, and all that stuff. Which most people raise themselves anyways. That's why I say, while I don't even agree with labeling people double digits, like 10 on up, as quote-unquote children anyways, especially 13 to 16, because that's when you become a man or woman. The whole concept of a quote-unquote childhood and being a kid is a lie. Like, for example, people are considered kids at least into their 20s, obviously not children, though as that term is used as an insult. But if you don't have real capital REAL parents, you are not a kid, nor do you get the normal experience. That's another reason why I've always liked apocalyptic trauma scenes like in the Walking Dead video games. The kids are all taking care of themselves and each other, have anarchist lives, and they don't have parents, and that does something to you. Clementine was like a sister and mother to RJ or whatever his name was, LOL. I've always loved the psychology of it, and it even reminds me of the vagabond lifestyle and why people end up in it. And even how people are once they end up in it. Like, I don't even think people actually realize how many people actually, like, spend their life hitchhiking across the country and stuff since 12 and even younger than that. It's just harder to do for the past couple of decades because of the laws that have been put in place to trap people in bad situations and to try to lock them up for not being with a quote-unquote guardian and that all that stuff. But it still happens, and it's still common, and it's like, especially with the whole not in my America prideful stuff and all of that, people try to act like it doesn't. Like, I've even been told before that anybody who says that they've been homeless since 13 in America is a quote-unquote Looney Tune, even though there's plenty of people that have been homeless by themselves in LA and even younger. Homeless by themselves since 7 and even younger in LA. And, yeah, because that didn't come out right. But, I don't know what else I was going to say with that. But, and the scariest thing about taking care of yourself and others and your parents is that after a while you eventually regress. I started to regress more. Hold up. Yeah, okay. I started to regress more when I got into my, I don't remember anything from 13. I think due to all the drug and abuse and other stuff. But I would say, crap, even younger than that. I would really say by like, yeah, I would say like maybe by 14, but I don't even really know though, because I feel I was in too many isolating situations, but I never was able to like really even be around or get along with people my age. It always made me nervous and stuff, but pretty much you start to regress. I never have, I already said all of it. Most make me nervous for various reasons, and I'm also not friendly, and I don't like most people I meet since a few years ago, so I haven't been in all the buddy stuff. I did try the friend thing one last time with that 3 months of school though, LOL. In fact, one of the scary situations about running away or getting kicked out is realizing you didn't escape abuse or the systems. I mean, I would say that it's like 50%. 50% you've escaped, but then there's still the other 50% that you haven't. Abuse or the systems. You escaped your main abuse. Still, many random people will treat you better than family, but you're still the quote-unquote bad, crazy, poor, broke, drug addict, whatever accusation or whatever person at the bottom of the caste system of society. So you're still going to be getting treated like crap and developing more trauma from getting treated like crap. Either constant 911 calls, being cursed out, talked junk to, or having people just straight up try to avoid eye contact with you because you're now quote-unquote bum. And the homeless industrial complex is still part of the cash for kids system and human cash cow systems. But living outside isn't necessarily the bad part. That can depend though. It's the poor treatment from society. But as I've realized, people treat you like crap and treat you the same in every bad situation. They just make up a new excuse to do so. My medical gaslighting story I mention often is a good example of that, but I'm not going to go all the way back into that again. And you're still never going to be seen as a kid. Getting adopted by a quote-unquote hobo family or vagabond or no matter whatever family is pretty common, but the idea of getting adopted by I don't want to say this in a rude way, but like maybe you're not somebody who wants to be stuck out here. Maybe you really do like want a place and you want like a family that supports you to your goals and I don't know, start a company or something. That's what I mean by this. I don't want to say it in a rude way. It's pretty common with the idea of getting adopted by parents or family or even friends that are trying to achieve a certain goal. other than traveling or just getting by and surviving day to day, is often a magical thinking maladaptive daydream. Same reason a lot of people initially think they want to go into a trafficking and homeless organization like CPS. They have a fake adoption storyline going in their head. That's why the only real option without magical thinking and hoping for things to fall out the sky is for those of us in bad situations to come together. That's why I always say you have to save yourself, at least until we save each other or whatever. Everything is pretty much hope deferred, no offense. I'm always told I'm depressing and a whole bunch of other things. I remember I was always getting called a Debbie Downer, especially near the end of my situation before I escaped, and when I would ask for help more and more. I was just told by like the staff in the little 3 months of school I went to, they would just tell me I was a Debbie Downer. I had serious chronic health issues. I really didn't even need to be out of school. Anywho, but I've definitely changed more and more the past few months, and I won't even really say it's necessarily for the better. I mean, I guess it could be, but it's whatever, I don't know. I just want to be in the reality of this life. And I haven't realized or learned anything new, to be honest. Just had the same truths reproven to me time and time again. Someone gave me a breakfast sandwich this morning and I was surprised. I'm laughing because I feel like this sounds kind of corny. And without trying to dig into my business or sexual harassment, I don't like to hope for things to get basic needs met, but some people do. It's not a good mindset. It actually does something to you, and it can drive you insane. Whenever you see someone, you're hoping for them to notice you, be nice to you, not avoid eye contact, not sexually harass you. Not that I'm starving or anything, but just in general, it's actually really scary to be getting hit constantly with the reality that people don't care, and most never will, and that you may never have a family. Also, the confusion. Oh crap. Okay, so someone had came and asked me something, and I don't know where I was last at, but I want to throw in something though right quick. I've been back in the South for some months now. When I was in Cali, it was constant 911 calls, but yesterday I had my first experience since I've been where I'm at of like police like coming to me. I mean, other than the whole Chomo Shane situation and him getting the police to help him sexually harass me and that whole thing that I had videos about. This was my first time having like the police come to me. No, the second time actually, because there was another time when I was laying at a bus stop some months ago, but anywho, but this time I was just waiting for the bus, and it's like, but I hate when white people like call the police for stupid stuff. And of course, people, when they call the police on you, they don't care. If they really cared or were concerned about you, they would ask you if you need something. In fact, I was talking to this guy the other day. He was telling me about how he walked from Louisiana to San Diego when he was like 19, and it took him 2.5 years, and how somebody called the police on him for walking down the freeway or whatever, and how people are calling the police about a kid walking down the freeway or whatever in the world, and how he asked the police, why'd you stop me? And they said because people were worried about him. He was like, man, people weren't worried about me. If they were worried about me, they would have asked if I needed something. And that's the same thing I was thinking in my head, but I didn't want to say that like when he was telling me about it, obviously, because like I didn't want to do my usual quote-unquote Debbie Downer stuff, because I'm in the reality of this. Nobody, just like T. Zando said, nobody gives a crap about anybody. It depends, though. It depends, but it's like, it's not even just about me trying to, like, necessarily be depressing about it. I mean, I don't want to play stupid either, but it's like, I also don't want to be the person that's, like, waiting for stuff to fall out the sky and stuff like that. But anywho, there's something else I was going to say. Oh, yeah, but going back to the bus stop thing. I hate when, like, white people do that thing where they call the police on me for stupid stuff. Like, I'm literally just waiting for the bus because they're hoping that there's some quote-unquote black parent around to get in trouble. That's all they really want, is to get somebody in trouble, and in hopes of me getting put in what I like to call a white supremacist taming situation, where I may go into like get put in some white family, but that's not even really how that works. But there's a lot of stuff I could say with that. It's just like I hate those like little racial situations. But anywho, let me pause this. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm trying to remember where I was last at. That you may never have a family. Also, the confusion of getting older. That's another bad thing about laying low till 18, aside from the fact that in abuse and being homeless, you're probably, I'm out of breath, you're probably going to be isolated, have trouble finding kids your age, who aren't, like, in, like, okay, I don't know how to put it. Let me summarize right quick, because I got to throw this in here. Especially when I was in Cali, like, I noticed, things were like these homeless, nomad, hippie, white communities that were around, and it's like, they're nice people, but they're into way too much screwed up stuff. Like, for example, I met this one boy. This was a common situation. They were, him and his friend or friends, they were teens, and they had all been on hardcore substances since forever. Fatty, meth, heroin, pills. In fact, he was actually really still put together to be on all the stuff that he was on as long as he had been. Like, he looked like a football player, to be honest, but he was pretty short, but I like short guys, but I'm not going to go into that. So, before I accidentally go off on embarrassing overshare, because I was about to go way somewhere else. He wasn't allowed to eat pizza because his mom wouldn't let him because they were vegan or vegetarian or whatever. And it's like, you're not allowed to eat pizza. Every other day, all types of stuff. It's just like, what in the world? But it's like, crap, what was I saying? Like, I mean, it's easier to find street kids in some places more than others. I mean, there's definitely some around here, but it's like, oftentimes in the South, like, they're hidden homeless, but in the West Coast, there's a lot of them, but it's like, due to the different culture, they're into like a lot of things that I just don't agree with and couldn't even put myself around, because for one, it's actually really sad to see. I'm not gonna act like the street kid stuff like here isn't sad, because like I know often people think about like gang stuff. That's not what I'm talking about though, but it's just different. Like if you are in a place where there are street kids around, like a lot of them, they still are sometimes hard to find because they have to like hide and all that stuff, even if they're 18 plus. But then it's like they may be into stuff that you don't want to surround yourself in if you grew up in a certain culture, or if you don't want to fall down a bad pipeline and you also want to eventually like get out the situation you're in. And I'm not saying this to like be rude to anybody, but I'm just like talking about the reality of it all. So that's another bad thing about laying low till 18, aside from the fact. Okay, I already read that. Have trouble, already read that. And nobody will really want you around their kids if they know your situation. And that's for like kids who maybe they're not in like a good situation, but they at least still live with their family. I don't know why that was funny, but anyway, you don't have time to focus on programs that you probably can't enroll yourself in, and then when you're 18 you may be too old or not qualified because you're not in school, or they treat you funny because you don't have parents. I wanted to make a video about this actually, like about this weird like thing with programs, like in the West Coast, like Cali, Oregon, Washington, they do actually have some programs for homeless youth, but America doesn't have the most because ages laws. But typically it's for 18 to 25 or 26 or 16 to 25 or different ages like that. So still everybody doesn't get in, and it's like depending on your situation, like if you're reported missing, it could still be some risk with that. But anyhow, they have some youth programs. But when it comes to like other stuff, like for example the library programs that pretty much every library in different states have, where like if you're a certain age up to maybe 17 or 18 or 12, there's like programs, but it's like they're obviously expecting you to have parents even if you're 18 or older, but then it's also kind of like for just in case somebody finds out about your situation, or even the fact that you need parents' permission to enroll in not even just library programs, but just other, I'm trying to think of like other examples, like the youth challenge thing, stuff like that. Once you're 18, you're too old, but if you're under 18, you can enroll yourself, or if you can figure out a way to enroll yourself, you're still at risk of them like reporting something to somebody or treating you funny, because if they find out your situation, like you're homeless or you don't have parents or whatever, then there's that. And then for the ones that are like, for people under 18, even up to 18, they're often for people who are in school, like middle school, high school, or whatever. So they may say, I mean, I would want to let you enroll yourself supposedly, but our program is only for people who are in school, and our funding is only for people who are in school. So you can't join anyways because you're not in school. And so there's different stuff like that. And I really wanted to make a video specifically about that, but now I probably won't because I already mentioned it now. So, okay. Because you don't have parents, you have to spend all your time running from people who want to call the cops on you to get you sent back, quote unquote, home, or locked up and sent home, or charged, or whatever in the world. But pretty much, when you're laying low till 18, or even maybe older, you have to spend all your time laying low, trying to get food, which is going to continue to happen as long as you're in really any bad situation. Even like if you end up getting housing, like food and stuff like that may be an issue. Trying to find a good place to sleep where you won't go to jail or have a police wake you up with their hand on their gun, kick you in the head, which is a really big thing in certain places more than others. And where you won't end up getting charges for things like trespassing and loitering. That did not come out how I wanted it to, but I'm going to keep going. You don't have time to focus on kid stuff, quote unquote, ever in life, it seems. And when I finally did find people my age, they often believed I was way younger than I actually am, back in Cali. Because for a couple months I've been back in the South. I'm saying back like this is even a place I've been before, but I've been in the South for a couple months. But when I was in Cali, there was a point in time, like in my first few months there during the summer, or maybe a little bit before summer break, where like I did sometimes run into high school kids while trying to sell candy, or just while being at this park thing when I was in Santa Cruz. And so yeah, there was that. Where am I? Loitering. No, I've been read. Hold on, let me scroll down because I'm getting confused. You don't have. Okay, I already read that. Often believed I was way younger than that. And then, due to the Geronophile bullcrap, which I have a whole playlist about the Geronophile agenda, as I'm calling it. Geronophile bullcrap, where due to my situation, I was made to feel like a quote-unquote pedo, even for talking to kids who were older than me, because they were in high school and I wasn't. Which is stupid American bullcrap, the whole Geronophile agenda, where people want to make younger people feel like a bad guy for dating or even just talking to and being friends with people their age. Okay, I had to do something again. I think I already read the whole they were in high school and I wasn't thing. Crap, even a lot of the last couple people I talked to were still in high school, which is actually crazy, lol. And still, the horrifying reality of recently realizing I'm a kid, but also the fact that since I'm a street kid, most people never see me as that, since I'm now just seen as a homeless bum woman, quote unquote, or quote unquote grown woman sex toy for years, even at 16. You're only a quote unquote child when it's being used against you. It's all really, really scary, to be honest. I'm trying to focus on something I like to keep my mind off of it. Even before I ran away, I've constantly had this thought in my head of wanting someone to be proud of me, wanting someone to play video games with me, and wanting parents, even though I would never trust the average person to be in that position, because I know it's just abuse and toxic older people with SA issues or whatever, who want someone to control, who think they know more than you when they really probably don't, typically. And I know how people have this bullcrap saying that like young people think they know everything or whatever, but for me it's really not like that. I mean, I have always been told that I understand more than most grown people, but it only comes to certain things. But it's like kind of to a certain extent, it's like there almost is nothing to understand sometimes. Sometimes it just feels like the only thing to understand is that you live and you die. But overall, it's not even really like some pride thing. It's like people literally aren't safe. People literally are just passing down trauma symptoms. I mean, well, yeah, they're doing that too. Passing down traumatizing abuse patterns that they see nothing wrong with. Like, most people really aren't safe. It's not even like, people try to like make it into something it's not, but it's like, honestly, having like older people and guidance would be nice, but like most people, they really aren't in the position for that because they're still trying to raise themselves, and like they're still dealing with the fact that dang, they've never had parents or any of that. And then for others, they're just really, really not safe. In fact, for most, they're just really, really not safe. And unfortunately, the people who are decently safe and even in a good financial and mental state, they don't want to be involved in the burden of helping people or supposedly helping people or whatever. And like a lot of people will feel like it's like a pity party type thing, but it's like, honestly, if you run around asking people for help, you're going to constantly have people treat you like crap for it and disappear and curse you out in any bad situation, even in the previous situation, which is why people have to save themselves by running away or whatever. But if you accept that there isn't a help and you admit that there is no help and that few people will like help, then it's kind of like there's a lot of military jets. I don't know what I was saying. Let me just keep going because the jets threw me off and my blood sugar's all over the place, and it has been since yesterday. Position because oh yeah, I think the main point is that, I mean, it would be nice to have like a safe like role model or guidance or parent type figure, but the reality is that that's not a reality, and that like people really aren't safe. It sounds nice and it would be nice to have someone tell me don't do this and don't do that, but it's like after a certain point of raising yourself, you kind of already know what to do and what not to do anyways. Like, I actually hate when I get compliments on my just how I am, and when people try to even throw shots, people who know my situation, not the people that don't, but people that know that like I'm in the situation I'm in, and then they'll try to say, yes, obviously you've been getting raised right though because you seem smart. I hate when they try to throw off my credit that belongs to me onto some mysterious parent that I supposedly have that I need to go home to, quote unquote. I know I haven't, no, I skipped some stuff because toxic older people with SA issues or whatever who want someone to control. I know I have an advantage over people of any age who are under control of their parents, especially because I've always understood more than most grown people, and it's all scary, to be honest. I think I mentioned before like a situation with a couple of situations. One with a guy who was like 25 or something. He told me that I'm lucky because his parents never allowed him to go anywhere until recently, and only recently because they allowed him to go to work. But other than that, he's not allowed to go anywhere. Then a situation with a Muslim girl who was talking about how her and her friend used to talk about how when they were college age they were going to be free and they were going to travel and stuff, but then they realized that they're Muslim and they're also females and that they would never actually be allowed to go anywhere or do anything. And the girl's telling me about how I'm lucky and how I know more about the world than she does because she's never been allowed to do anything. I do get my advantage over a lot of people. And I mean, that's kind of the point though, is to be able to have control over your environment and who you allow around you. That's one of the points of being out here and escaping any abuse situation, because now it's a chance to try to figure something out to better your situation. And if you're never able to like really get where you wanted to get, and you lose sight and hope of that, to at least know that the bare minimum is that you got out your main bad situation, that you're free now and you can travel or train hop or whatever. Not that I would advise train hopping, but I mean, I'm just saying that's generally how like it goes when people talk about the realization that they may never like accomplish anything else other than escaping and getting out. But that's why the only thing I can think is people in bad situations coming together and helping each other. I'm reading the notes again now, or the message, whatever in the world. There is nothing else. Also learning tech type stuff, so like I'm learning the code and things like that. That's helpful, I believe. Or even learning like maybe renewable energy type stuff. But anywho, other than that, I don't know. Crap, when I first got on here, the people who were giving me tips and advice and helping me get through my gaslighting, break free from my gaslighting, were 37 and the youngest maybe 27. In fact, the last two recent people I've talked to are 26 to 29, lol. Majority were still in their abuse situations. They're playing whack-a-mole pretty much, still in contact with their abusers, lol. One situation was a little different. She was born into a high-level SRA Traff bloodline, Serpent Seed Euro J3W. So she's going to spend the rest of her life running. So her situation is different from the other ones. But it's scary. I've learned that life in society breadcrumbs you. It seems you never get what you want or even need, but you have to fight for whatever you want and fight to the top. It's scary that I'm still a kid trying to figure it out, but that's how things are. Most people raise themselves and they never get over the pain, it seems. I've been asking around, and yeah, as I knew, you never do get over the pain of not having a family and parents. LOL. I think I showed you that lady's advice. She had me until she got to the usual story of having to become a stripper at 15 and then using that money for therapy. But I remember when you asked me why it seems that girls who escape families that essay them always escape through OF, which is short for something, and other types of SES work, or quote-unquote work. It's really just, I call all of it abuse of self and others. It's a sad cycle, definitely not for me or really anyone. But that's why I'm trying to figure out what can help, and I guess save me and all of us. And homeless isn't a living situation, it's an emotion. It's a feeling of not belonging that most of us have long before we ever run away or get kicked out. Or if you're in foster care, you're homeless in general, so that's kind of whatever. But having a home is having somewhere with people you love. Homelessness is an energy. That's how people pick it up off of you. That's why within your first few hours of being quote-unquote homeless, like the first couple hours of running away or getting kicked out or whatever, you're not treated like crap yet. LOL.